The heat today will test these drivers. We're ready to race America's heartland.
Green flag goes in the air. The car is spun as William Byron. We've got feuding between teammates.
Larson's in the wall.
This changes everything.
Austin Dillon is bounced off the outside wall.
Look at the celebration.
Ooh, nice.
Buckle up, everybody, and hang on. This is going to be a good one.
Checkered flag goes in the air.
There was beating, there was banging. It's always fun. Kansas.
Welcome to Around the Track. I'm Kim Coon alongside Ryan Flores. Before we get you ready for everything Kansas Speedway, got to wrap up Dover. Great weekend.
It was a great weekend, and it was fun to be there. It's my home track, and I got to see a lot of people. There was a ton going on. The atmosphere was great. It felt more like an event.
Yeah.
So I'd say going there once a year has turned it around.
Did you see the giant rubber duck?
It was hard to miss. Yeah, you definitely saw the giant rubber ducky. There was a lot going on. There was even a motorcycle thrill show called Flying Floreses.
Oh!
Not related. I was thinking about going and jumping in, but
Dang.
but it was a lot of fun. The other thing that was really cool was watching that race. We've talked about Connor Zilic, who won the ARCA race, and then we've talked about Carson Quaffle and Ryan Trix. We both highlighted both of them.
So basically, if you want to do well on the racetrack, you have to be highlighted on Around the Track. But to your point, Connor Zilic, he can win in anything you put him in. Won his first ARCA Menard Series race at Dover. You know, we saw him win the Rolex, Sebring, late model at Hickory, and then Carson. You know, I kind of begged the question, what should we expect? Yes, he ran well at Martinsville, but Martinsville and Dover are very different, and he showed up. Second place finish. He could have actually won that race.
Yeah, it's definitely a driver's racetrack and a little bit more experience on restarts. You know, you got to lose a couple to win some, but I thought he was going to win that. If there's anybody that I wanted to beat him, though, it was Ryan Trix. So it was a super exciting race to watch, and leads us to a super exciting racetrack in Kansas. So we head here this weekend. Let's take a look at the schedule. First thing on track this weekend will be truck practice Saturday at noon, followed by the ARCA race at 3 p.m. and then the trucks Saturday at 8 p.m. So look to the next day, there'll be the NASCAR U Series all weekend long between Gate A and B. That's super exciting. The quarter midgets followed by all leads us up to the Cup race Sunday at 3 p.m. But let's talk trucks.
Yeah.
They've been off for a couple weeks. I'm excited to see them back in action. What are you looking forward to the most?
Well, they're going to have to knock the rust off.
Yeah.
Because it's been a couple weeks since they've been on the racetrack. But Brett Moffitt back in a truck. He's running for Tricon Garage this weekend. So I think that is one to watch. We know how strong Tricon is in general in the series. And then having a former champ of the series in one of their trucks. Curious to see what he can do. And then Zane Smith.
Speaking of former champ, he's back in a Bill McAnally truck. They've been so dominant with Christian Eckes this year, so a lot of competition stepping into the truck series this weekend.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the Cup Series on Sunday. We've seen so many exciting races. Let's take a look back at the last three winners in the Cup Series at Kansas Speedway.
Bubba Wallace looking for his second career win. He's going to do it. Bubba Wallace wins at Kansas.
But they go stay down, baby! Let's go!
Well, no one records, did he? I thought he was better than that. Five back on the wall, coming to the checker here.
Hamlin wins Kansas after a fierce battle with Kyle Larson.
Hell yeah, everybody. So proud of you. What a fight. Coming to the checker here.
Checkered flag waving at the start-finish line, and Tyler Reddick will score the win in the Hollywood Casino 400.
Oh, yeah! All right!
The Cup cars hit the track first for practice and qualifying Saturday at 5 p.m. And it all leads us, like we said, to the Advant Health 400 Sunday, 3 p.m. on FS1. But first, we're talking about practice. What makes practice here at Kansas more important than most places?
There's a couple of things. First of all, the next time the Cup Series races at Kansas, it's a playoff race. So you know that the crew chiefs, the teams want to fill their notebooks up with every bit of information possible to make sure they are winning that race in the fall. And the other thing is Kansas is a racetrack where you can run a lot of different lines. So your car has to have maneuverability, and that I know that practice is short, but it gives you an opportunity to figure out where your car can run.
Yeah, we talk about balance a lot. You see a lot of guys here slip the right rear. This is a place where you think about Kansas being a straightforward mile and a half, but not so much.
Yeah.
A lot of cautions. You see a lot of guys spinning out on their own. So you're really asking a lot out of your aero balance, your mechanical grip, and then go to pit road. You got to have great strategy and good pit stops, and it all starts. The good pit stops will start on Saturday during qualifying to get you a good pit box. So the better you qualify, the better your pit selection is, and that leads us all into the race on Sunday. And yeah, you need everything to go right to win here. but it has been just Toyota versus Hendrick is what it seems like.
Yeah, the last 4 races, in fact, all of the next-gen races have been won by Toyota, but like right there knocking on the door has been Hendrick, and so is this opportunity for them to kind of slide in there and steal a win from a Toyota driver?
Yeah, this is where the kind of a little bit of beef started last year with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, and then just watching the highlights of the race last September with Tyler Reddick, it was a mixed bag of strategy at the end with 4 tires, no tires, guys on scuffs, guys on 2, and it was ultimately a great 3-wide pass that propelled Tyler Reddick to the victory. But these 2311, if you're not in a 2311 car, you own a 2311 car, and that's what it seems like it takes to win here.
All right, well, the racing action is going to be all across the country this weekend. Where else are we racing?
Yeah, let's take a look at what we have on tap. We see the Cars Tour is at Ace Speedway, always an exciting racetrack. One of my favorites, Monadnock, with the Wheel and Modified Tour, and Riverhead Raceway gets its season opener fired up. So excited to see what happens up there on Long Island as well.
Also, got to make a mention, F1 is in Miami this weekend. That's my old stomping grounds. They actually go all around Hard Rock Casino Stadium, which is where the Miami Hurricanes play.
Yeah,
so very cool. And then the Porsche Carrera Cup is kind of that kind of auxiliary series that's going to be down there racing as well.
Yeah, all this action for the short track stuff will be live on Flow, Riverhead Raceway. They have tour cars every weekend. It's like the Bowman Gray of the Northeast right out there on Long Island. And then we look at the Wheel and Modified Tour. There's been some great action this year. It's been Ronnie Silk and Justin Bonsignor, who we'll hear about later in the show. And the Cars Tour. We got a guy we're going to tell you about that's on tap from the Cars Tour.
Yeah, let's take a deeper dive into the points leader in the Cars Tour.
Hey, going. Yeah, where we going? To the top.
From Hampton, Virginia, Connor Hall!
Yeah. Ready, set, I'm already gone. Too long, I've been waiting on it. Being a champion, can't erase it all. Cause the painted cars made a beast of all. Say word, go, to the top, go, until I drop. I never stop.
Connor Hall back in victory lane.
Like I mentioned, the current points leader in the Cars Tour, also the reigning NASCAR Weekly Series champ. What do we need to know about Connor Hall?
Connor Hall wins a lot of races. He's already got 9 races won this year in the NASCAR Weekly Series. And out of his starts last year, of 26 starts, he won 18. So he's already halfway there. He's won at places like Hickory, Florence. He wins a lot at Langley. And he's in a new ride this year in his Nelson Motorsports late model entry for the Cars Tour. And they're already leading points.
So if you look at a guy that is so successful in the Weekly Series, what's kind of the next step? What kind of path can they take?
Yeah, so that's always kind of been an unknown, but after watching this weekend, Carson Kvapil, he about won the race at Dover, and we watched Connor Zilic. He won a Cars Tour race a couple weeks ago. He won the ARCA race at Dover. So we saw Bubba Pollard. We see these guys getting chances. Dale Jr. is giving them some chances, and there's a lot of eyes on that Cars Tour. We've been talking about it a lot around the track, so sky's the limit for these guys.
So we're not only talking about Connor Hall this week.
Yeah, we got Justin Bonsignor, one of my good buddies from the Northeast. I cannot believe, looking at these stats, how many wins he has. So let's take a deeper dive into Justin Bonsignor.
3 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour championships.
The winningest driver here.
Driving to number 51, Justin Bonsignor.
I'm an icon. Yeah. There ain't no other one. Nobody. Yeah, I'm an icon. See me? I'll be forever strong. Yeah, I'm an icon. I'm one. I'm right where I belong.
Here's a look at Justin's stats at Monadnock. 5 wins, that leads all drivers. Not only that, we talk about his wins in general. He has more victories than any other Wheel and Modified Tour driver active, and then he's closing in on series history.
Yeah, absolutely. With 41 wins, he's only 1 win away from tying the late, great Teddy Christopher for 3rd all-time, and 3 wins away from tying Reggie Ruggiero. That is some great company. The one thing that impresses me the most about Justin, though, he has all of his 41 wins with the same owner, and that's Ken Massa. This 51 team, now led by Ryan Stone, they're really hitting their stride. 31 poles. They're the guys. You think about modified racing through the years. You think about Richie Evans, and then you think about Reggie Ruggiero, and now it's Ronnie Silk and Justin Bonsignor. And when we look back 20 years from now, he'll be the guy that we're talking about. So it's been really great to watch where his career has come and what he's been able to do. But like I said, the continuity of doing like all of this with the same owner, that's just unheard of.
And you know Justin, right?
I know Justin.
Well, how is he away from the track?
Justin is a lot like he is at the track. He's a Long Islander, but he's great. You know, we've become really good friends throughout the years, and they just had him and his wife Taylor just had their first baby boy. They had him in Victory Lane at Richmond, so it's been really awesome to see him build this team. This 51 team is not only great on the track, they're great in the pits too. They're probably the best pit crew. I think the pit crew might win him more races than he does. But yeah, it's awesome to see these guys. They've really, you know, a high tide raises all ships, and they've raised the whole level of the modified garage.
Safe to say that he's the favorite this weekend in Monadnock?
It's either him or Ronnie Silk right now.
All right, so keep your eyes on Justin Bonsignor this weekend at Monadnock. But as we're talking favorites, Erica has her favorites for this weekend at Kansas Speedway with our Easy Money with E coming up after the break.
Join Todd Gordon and myself each week for NASCAR Inside the Race. We'll break down exactly how the race was won.
Plus, we'll dive into the data and go in depth on race strategies, penalties, and rule changes.
Catch NASCAR Inside the Race presented by Consumer Cellular each Tuesday on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
It's now time for Easy Money with E. We're going to welcome in Erica, our resident sports betting analyst. And if you're headed to Kansas Speedway, before you walk into the Hollywood Casino and put your money down, you're going to want to take some notes right now. Erica's done a great job all year, and especially last week. You won us some serious money.
Yeah, we all won some money last week, but I want to piggyback off of you, Kim, and say if you are at Kansas, walk your ruby red slippers into the casino because there's nothing like placing bets in person. But yes, last week, one of my best bets for Kyle Larson to finish in the top 10 hit. As we know, he had an awesome race last week at Dover, and then our two-sport parlay hit. So the NFL draft where we picked Jayden Daniels to go second overall, that part of it hit. And then, of course, Martin Truex Jr. finished in the top 10 on Sunday. Woo-hoo. So kudos to us and kudos to you guys for taking my advice.
Yes, and that parlay was so fun. I was on the edge of my seat for both events. So let's do it again this week. Another two-sport parlay. Where are we putting our money?
So we're going to put our money on the Minnesota Timberwolves to cover the 5-point spread when they face the Denver Nuggets this Saturday in the first game of the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. The reason we're going to go with Minnesota to cover the 5 points is because if you watch any of them this year, this playoff season, you just know that Anthony Edwards is a complete dog. With him and Karl Anthony Towns and their supporting cast, they could definitely make this a close game. So that's the first part, that's Saturday. Then, of course, we're going to be watching the race on Sunday, and I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs to be the best finisher in his group. In his group, he's got Blaney, Chastain, and Busch. We know that Ty Gibbs won here at Xfinity already. And also, we talk about him every single week as having momentum, getting close to a win. He doesn't have to win this weekend for this group bet to hit or this part of the parlay to hit. He just has to finish ahead of the group. So let's go with that for our two-sport parlay this weekend.
And Ty is a great pick for that group bet because he's in a Toyota, and Toyotas have won at Kansas Speedway every next-gen race. So let's talk specific drivers. Who should we be putting our money on for Kansas?
Okay, so my second best bet on my card this week is going to be these three drivers to all finish in the top 10. And it's Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick. Now, these odds are plus 105, where a $10 bet wins you a total of $20.50. Look, Larson, he has top three finishes in his last 5 races at Kansas. So to me, it's a no-brainer that he's going to finish in the top 10. And then Denny Hamlin, our favorite guy. He's one of our favorite guys. He's won 4 races at Kansas. And I don't know about you. I read the comment sections, Kim, and people are over Hamlin, but I'm not over somebody who wins me money. How about you, Kim?
Nope, not if he can put some money on the table. I like it.
And then finally, Tyler Reddick. He won this race last fall. He finished, top 10 in this race last spring. So this feels like a parlay bet, but at the sportsbook where I found this plus 105, it's actually just a straight bet. But all 3 drivers do have to finish in top 10 for this to hit. Kim, I do have another note I want to throw out there. I always talk about, if you want to, spend $10, bet $10, win whatever. But if you want to bet a little bit more money, if you feel super, super strongly about a particular bet, feel free to bet more money. So if you feel like Larson, Hamlin, and Reddick are all going to finish in the top 10, throw $20 at it. But $10 is a safe space.
Well, I mentioned how strong Toyotas are at Kansas, and 2 of your 3 drivers in that top 10 finish are also Toyota drivers. So let's talk manufacturers at Kansas Speedway. What do we need to know before we put any bets down for a manufacturer?
Okay, so the first thing I think that everybody needs to know is that Toyota has just been so dominant this year, so it's really hard not to place some money on them in this spot. However, I'm going to place a $10 bet on Chevy to be the top winning manufacturer, and that's at plus 140. And Kim, the reason I'm going there is because this is low-key my way of saying that Larson could win this race. Like, how you feel about that?
I feel good. And if you look at the stats at mile-and-a-half tracks so far this season, both mile-and-a-half tracks were won by Chevy drivers. So
now on the opposite end of that is a Ford, whose odds in this spot are plus 600. They are forever long. And that is because Ford is winless this year. Are they ever going to win a race in 2024, Kim?
I'm hoping for them. I don't know that this is their weekend, but
I actually agree with you on that. However, you know how I feel about odds when they're a little bit longer. You can put some money down and, you know, you have a greater payout for the riskier bet. This is one of those situations where, no, Ford is probably not going to win this race. But if you want to put $2, $5 on Ford plus 600, why not? But the smarter bet is Chevy and, honestly, Toyota.
Awesome information, Erica. Thank you so much. We'll see you next weekend for Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway.
Kansas is an extremely fast track. It's you know, a ton of commitment from a standpoint just in the driver's seat. You have to drive into the corner really hard, a lot of on-throttle time. You know, it's one of the few mile-and-a-halves where you don't use a lot of brake.
It's a great racetrack and probably one of the best racetracks for the next-gen car, just because it's an intermediate that you can run high or low or anywhere in between, and that's what this car really likes.
You know, you look at how wide the racetrack is and the racing that is there, the grooves that have moved around as it's weathered over the years since it's been repaved. It's been a really good racetrack for these cars, so I look forward to going there for sure.
We're now joined in studio by the driver of the number 10 Ford Mustang for Stewart-Haas Racing, Noah Gragson. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You have got a great start to the season. You're coming off 2 top 10s, but we are headed to Kansas Speedway this weekend. So what's the biggest challenge at Kansas?
Kansas is a fun one. You have different options, right? You can go to the bottom, the middle, the top. The track's progressively banked. So towards the end of a run, you'll see guys running up top, but when the tires are new and fresh, you can go to the bottom with that extra banking on the top and you know, running up against the wall. It provides a lot of different opportunity to make slide job passes and cool moves, but probably just the tires wearing out, not getting too loose throughout the end of a run, and being able to manage that as a driver. Having your pace and your balance perfect for your needs is key, but I'm sure you're going to see all of us right up against that wall on the top side throughout the corners. I love being up there, so looking forward to it this weekend.
How hard is it to manage the tires and protect that right rear through the course of a run?
It's really hard with the different seams. You kind of start the run off a little tight so the front tires aren't turning and you're having to wait to get back on the gas, and then towards the end of a run it seems like the right rear tire just burns off. You're losing right rear grip and you're kind of kicking the back of the car out sideways. Yeah, you're loose. And so with the different seams and different banking, it seems like if you cross those seams, it makes it really challenging to keep the car straight. So you're definitely pedaling the car on the exit of the corners at the end of a run. So you have to keep that in mind just so you don't burn it up too quick and wear that right rear tire out.
You have an Xfinity Series win at Kansas. What else, I know Cup and Xfinity are different, but what else besides tire management is on the checklist of things you have to have or you have to do right to be successful at Kansas?
I think just being open-minded on where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, and really fine-tuning the balance of the race car. I know my cars, I've always wanted them to be, you know, good where I can pick up the throttle as soon as possible and be able to rotate and wrap the exit without getting too tight and hitting the outside wall. It seems like the wall off of turn number 4 comes up really quick the way it's shaped, so being able to wrap around the corner on exit of turn 4 and getting back into the gas and not having to do that second lift, because it seems like you get run over from the guy behind and you'll be losing spots. So having a car that can maneuver, you know, between the bottom, the middle, and the top. Sometimes your balance is a little different. You might be, you know, loose on the bottom and you might be good on the top, or you might be tight on the bottom and good on the top. So there's different ways, but just having a well-balanced race car, a good driving race car, but one that hooks the corner on exit and you're able to stay in the gas.
Versatility.
Yep, versatility.
From the outside, Kansas seems like, a smooth track, 1.5 miles, pretty easy, but we always seem to see chaos when it comes to the Cup Series race, at least in the handful of last years. Why? Why chaos at Kansas?
I don't know. I think it's a racetrack that presents options, right? You got the bottom lane, middle lane, top lane. They're all, close to being even. So you see guys that they might be the preferred lane, might be the top at the end of a race, but they'll go down and do a slide job, and you always see something at the end of this race. It provides a lot of excitement for the race fans. I know the restarts are wild. Will be 2, 3, even 4 wide. I was watching the race back earlier from last year, and 4 wide on some of these restarts is crazy. It's just so many options, so wide. You're able to go wherever you need to go. So it's going to prevent a lot of excitement, a lot of maybe frustration for some drivers, and hopefully we can have a solid day this weekend.
The big conversation in the Cup Series recently has been aero blocking. How much of that will we see this weekend at Kansas?
You're probably going to see a little bit of it, definitely with the cameras in the cars for shooting off the back of the car. You can really see where the driver is behind you, and our cars don't drive good in traffic. So I know we'll probably be up against the outside top lane throughout the corner, and I've known in the past that when I'm following a guy like Joey Logano, he'll kind of run through the middle, and if he sees me going up to the top, he'll just go up to the top, and I'll be like, man, now I got to get out of the gas, or when I go to the bottom, he'll jet down to the bottom. Stuff like that you might see, so it makes it a little challenging to pass, but this track is so wide. There are a lot of different options that you can try and go where the guy's not, but you will see a lot of aero blocking this weekend.
All right, next up, we have our fantasy segment. So tell us why Noah Gragson should be in our fantasy lineup.
I don't know how the fantasy deal works, but I think you guys should utilize myself as your fantasy pick. I don't know how many you get, but 6th at Vegas. We're probably going to end up 7th at Texas. Had good speed on the 1.5 miles there. And we're getting our rhythm down. We're growing as a team. I'm excited. And I guess I say if the driver's excited and confident, you should probably go with that guy. Denny called his shot last week. I'm not calling my shot to win, but I'm hoping to have a pretty good day.
You've got momentum on your side.
That's right.
Thanks, Noah. Next up, Ryan and I break down your fantasy lineups for Kansas Speedway.
It's decision time, NASCAR fans. Who gets you the points? Who gets you the wins? Who gets you the bragging rights? Who gets you the championship?
All right, it's time to look at our fantasy lineups for the weekend. Let's start with must-haves.
Yeah, my must-have is a guy that's had a part in every single next-gen win here at Kansas Motor Speedway, and that's Denny Hamlin. He's either owned the car or driven the car. He's got a great crew chief, he's a great driver, and he's got the best pit crew on pit road, so that 11 team is who I'm going with this weekend.
You said best pit crew. I thought maybe you were going to pick the 12 car.
Now, we're a great pit crew, but it's hard to deny that the 11 team has been the clear-cut favorite throughout the year, but we're catching them.
Okay, my must-have, Toyota, period. They've won 7 of the last 9 at Kansas, including the last 4 straight. But if I have to get more specific, Tyler Reddick. He won there in the fall. He's a great racer at this type of track. And then if you look at 1.5 miles this season, he's the only driver that's finished top 5 in both those races. Yeah,
racetracks where you kind of run on the edge of grip and drive the car off the right rear. Him and Kyle Larson are the guys. The only difference between him and Kyle Larson, the big one, Reddick's in a Toyota and Larson's not. Even though Larson has been close here, I'm still going to give the nod to Reddick as well. Who's your black flag?
It's got to be a Ford. I just don't think Ford's going to get it done this weekend, but specifically Chris Buescher. I was looking at his stats, and I was shocked to see he has never had a top 5 at 1.5 miles, and so I have to immediately park him for the weekend.
Well, great minds think alike, because I didn't go with Chris Buescher, but I went with his teammate Brad Keselowski. Okay. Now, Brad won a stage here last year. They did it on strategy, but later in the race, they just did not have the speed to contend with Kyle Larson and the Toyotas. So I'm going to, like I said, I think the Fords will figure it out this year, but I don't know that they'll figure it out this weekend. So I'm going to keep them for when they do figure it out and keep him in the saddle. But now let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and tell you all things that are going on at and around Kansas Speedway.
Hey guys, I'm Corey LaJoy, driver of the number 7 car, joined my buddy Ryan Flores. Every week we stack some pennies. talk about NASCAR Cup Series right out of my windshield.
Plus, we'll give out the dogs of the week for the best pit crews and pit crew guys from the weekend. We'll break down all the money stops, all the woes, get into some technical issues, and we'll also answer all of your hashtag Penny for Your Thoughts questions.
And we have a ton of guests. Sometimes SVG pops by. We got Raja. We have all sorts of guys. You never know who's going to pop in the Nonsense Garage, but make sure you tune in. SiriusXM on Tuesdays, YouTube on Wednesdays, wherever you find your podcast on Wednesdays as well. Come stack pains with us.
Each and every week, we like to set the fans up for success when they're out at the racetrack, finding all the fun things to do. What are you keeping your eye on this weekend at Kansas?
The Cabo Wabo Tequila Fan Walk will give you access to the infield garages and Victory Lane. And then on Sunday, there'll be car shows and a pre-race concert. There's a lot going on. What are you looking forward to the most?
Well, the Highline District, it's an area of the track grounds where there's going to be games, including pickleball.
Ooh.
Yeah. Different activities, music. It's just fun for the whole family, and it's got really great views of the racetrack, too.
Yeah, and you can see a full list of everything that's going on at KansasSpeedway.com.
Well, we've talked about it all show long, the Kansas craziness, all of the chaos that can ensue at the racetrack, and I know in my years, I've seen a lot of wild things happen. What about you?
Been there for some crazy storms where I felt like we were going to have to go into the tunnel and take shelter. And then the one year, I've heard one of the most viral videos ever was when they drilled into the racetrack and there was a geyser of water coming out of one of the corners.
Yeah, that video went viral. I think it got like almost 2 million views for NASCAR back in 2018. What were you doing in 2018?
I was changing tires for Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like the same thing I was doing now. And that goes to show how many people are affected by weather in the weekend and how many people it takes to put on these races. Think about not just the teams, the fans, and the drivers, but the groundskeepers and everybody that works at the racetrack. So super impressive when there is something like that happens, that those guys are able to drain the racetrack or do whatever it takes to keep the race going.
Yeah, we appreciate you watching this week's episode of Around the Track. Next week, we're getting you ready for Throwback Weekend.
Yeah, the Lady in Black. So we'll take you here around the track for all things Darlington.